Alright, I think we should be good now. Let me get the Discord stream up. And I've got stuff to show you. What do I want? Where is projector? Here we go. Let me know when it's up because streamer mode is on Discord. Right. So I made a cube in Blender. As you can see, it's slightly more than a cube. It's you know, got some handles and stuff. It's got some indents and things. Very fancy, very fancy.
Fancy cube.
It's a fancy cube, yes. I'll explain what the cube is for later, I think, but for now, I think I talked about this before a while back, but just to refresh your memory, when working in Blender, there's a disconnect between Blender and Unreal Engine because Blenders, especially when it comes to textures and stuff, when you export an FBX from Blender and try and import that FBX file into Unreal Engine, the textures get all screwed up, especially if you use Blender's texture nodes, which is like the really fancy texture side of things. So usually what people would do if they're sending stuff over from Blender to Unreal Engine is they'll model in Blender and then set up a color ID, which means these specific areas of the model have these specific blank texture slots, and then you just retexture those same materials over in Unreal Engine. So I did that. I made this cube. I made a color ID. Looks horrible on the eyes, but that's kind of the point.
Well, yeah, that's so you know which color IDs are where.
Yeah, exactly. It's
more
got
of
to
a
be
graph than anything.
Yes, exactly. So I made a color ID. I went a bit crazy on the color ID because I'm like, I don't exactly know what I want to put where yet. So I'm just like, well, if I want the corners to be different from the handles and the inside of the handle, like a padding to be different from the outside and all the edges to be different, like I can do that, but I can also have them be similar textures.
Or at the same time, you make all of them the exact same color.
Yeah. So I went a bit crazy on the color ID because it's just for testing and playing around. But in the process, a little while back, I stumbled across a video and like a tutorial video, like 5 minutes. And it burrowed its way into the back of my mind, and I recently recalled it again. It's life-changing for Blender to Unreal Engine workflows, especially when it comes to textures. So what I discovered is there is a different format other than FBX. So if I go up here to File, so you've got a bunch of formats here. Pretty much every tutorial and their mother say export as FBX, and then you import it into Substance Painter or Unreal Engine and make your materials there directly with a color ID. But this one, I don't know if this is common knowledge. Maybe it is. It's news to me. It took me a very long time to actually stumble across this one mention in this one video that's like 5 minutes long. If you export it as GLTF, you can actually export the proper materials as they appear in Blender, which is insane. I know. Oh, also another problem, a big problem, even when just using color IDs as FBX. I'll show you it now in a second, but if I export this as FBX with these color IDs, and just to show you, these are my materials up here. These are all the materials I've got. Their names and whatnot doesn't really matter, but just so you can kind of see the color highlights there. But when you export this as FBX and then import it into Unreal Engine, even these flat solid colors with no metallic, no transmission or no emission or anything, like they're just flat colors, even those get screwed up. I don't know how. So I'll show you what I mean now. I've got Unreal Engine open here. So I'll go to, I've got two versions here. Blender imports, create. So this is the first one I imported. This is the FBX. This is the FBX I made. There's let me see if I can bring it kind of side by side. Hang on.
Yeah, I'm already noticing differences. Like the handles are a different color. You don't have black anywhere on that thing, but one of them is black.
The magenta. This was red. It's now magenta. This was.
And the blue is now red.
This was magenta. It's now black. The blue is red. The yellow is green. Like.
The green is yellow.
I mean, when it comes to a color
White
IDs,
dark blues are flipped.
Exactly. When it comes to color IDs, this doesn't matter too terribly much. However, the thing that's an issue specifically, let me go highlight. Goodness, trying to switch the two control schemes in my head. Rapid fire. So here's a major problem. As you can see, this little strip is magenta, this strip is black. The material that's being used here on the left side, the proper one, is called the rim material. That's why it's magenta. The only material that's black here, the only material that's black is the base material, a completely different material. The rim material is here. That's being used here. Where it decides to use the materials is all over the friggin' place, and that's the problem.
I mean, that is technically a rim or edge.
Well, it's an edge. I named it edge material. Some edgy. But it doesn't just mess with the colors. It like scrambles what materials go where and what they get assigned to. So you can like organize your materials in here and name them different things. And then it doesn't matter because it gets scrambled. It's so infuriating. But what I can do, I'll go back to full screen here. So this is the FBX, but if you export it as GOTF, you can already tell, let me just bring the static mesh, you can already tell it's accurate. Completely accurate. Oh, and not to mention, great, let me bring this one out again. Not to mention, I kind of stumbled across this. The inside, okay. So let me show you what the inside's supposed to be like in Blender here. Oh, geez, switch control schemes. Oh my goodness. Let me clip in. Okay, so the inside's supposed to be orange, and these corners are textured. The corners here.
Yeah.
I wanted an inside, and I'll explain again what this crate is going to be used for soon, but these corners are textured and everything is solid. But if we go back to Unreal Engine, we'll see that the corners are missing their textures.
So, are they enrichment cubes?
Sort of.
I know how your brain thinks.
They're loot crates. They're sci-fi loot crates. Trying to be. But yeah, with the FBX, even though these corners are textured, it's completely missing. I don't know why. It's the inside, it doesn't really matter, but it bothers me because if it just randomly happens here, where else is it gonna randomly happen, you know?
Everywhere.
But with the GOTF, the corners are completely there, and it looks good. So, spoiler alert. Oh why do I have a bunch of them stacked in the sky? So this is kind of part 2 of what I wanted to showcase. So part 1, the Blender to Unreal Engine export, use GOTF. Just do it. Which, by the way, for anyone watching, if you want to, it's a little bit different for 5.2, Unreal Engine 5.2, but if you want to do it, you go to, where was it? Gosh. Oh, hang on. Edit. I did this just yesterday. You gotta go to Edit, Plugins, and you gotta look for... So I'll show you the method I went about doing it, GOTF. So, you search up GOTF, but you'll notice this GOTF importer is deprecated. So it's gonna go away pretty soon. Well, maybe not pretty soon, but at some point in future versions, this is gonna go away. But they say here, where was it? Import through the interchange plugin. So I just search up interchange, and I believe it's Datasmith Interchanger, this one here. So if I try and remove GOTF while this is enabled, this requires that GOTF is on. So I'm guessing that at some point this is gonna merge into that one, and they're just gonna become one and the same thing. But right now, enabling this plugin immediately enables the GOTF plugin as well. And you can have this active and this deactivated, but if this is active, then this also has to be active. But anyway, point is, use the Datasmith interchange, and then you'll be good to import GOTF files. Okay, with that little thingy out of the way, just because it's worth documenting somewhere at least. I wanted to make crates, and I wanted to have them break into pieces, and that's what this is for, and it's great. So let me just get a decent view here. My FPS is probably gonna tank because it's not optimized, but it is fun.
Wow.
The pieces go away. Now.
Reminds me of Lego.
Oh, Lego. Yeah, don't step on it, you'll die. So, I'm gonna show this again because the breaking was easy to do. Them disappearing infuriated the hell out of me when it's not supposed to, and I'll tell you why. For anyone else who might be encountering this problem as well, when you make, so these are called geometry collections, and basically the geometry collection allows you to break a piece of geometry into pieces, and then the engine will kind of automatically, make faces that weren't there before. So it looks like a complete piece and not just a flat chunk. But the geometry collection has a couple interesting little tidbits here if you open it up. Specifically, I mean, there's a lot you can do with these. I don't know what majority of these do, but I was playing around with this removal, and this is the important one. Because, of course, you have to get rid of those separate chunks somehow. Otherwise,
Yes,
it's just...
Don't. 3 minutes later, the game is literally unplayable.
Yeah, exactly. Let me just double check how my stream is doing. Okay, no errors. I realized I had it timed out for a while. But yeah, you gotta do garbage collection, right? You gotta clean up the shards you break apart. So the issue I was having is... So I'll go over these settings first. You have remove on sleep. So essentially, when a piece breaks and stops moving, quote unquote stops moving, it goes idle. It's idle. It sleeps. It's not getting calculated as much anymore. So you have this remove on sleep function, which means if it sleeps, it dies. If you sleep, you die. And then you have like a time frame for how long to wait until after an item sleeps before you remove it. And then how long the removal process takes. It kind of averages out the two numbers. So they effectively, my understanding, work as one number. But I don't know. It's what it is, I guess. But you also have these two ones down here, which is super important. Slow moving as sleeping. So if it still has movement, but it's really small, then it still counts as sleeping for the removal process, which is great. Because this is where I got stuck. This is specifically, I don't know where it came in, but this checkmark isn't here for Unreal Engine 5.3, which is what I was using until last night. I searched Google high and low, and I could not find... A ton of other people had the same issue. Because what would happen is it would break, but then like 2, 3, 4 shards would disappear, and the rest would just sit there forever, never disappearing. Because what would happen is they're constantly colliding and bumping off each other and jittering. And
the good old Half-Life jitter.
Yeah, exactly. It's very much a problem. And because of that, they'd never sleep. And I was pulling my hair out yesterday even, just yesterday, trying to figure out why the hell this isn't working. And like I said, I searched the internet high and low for like an hour. I know, wow, you search for an hour. In today's standards, that's massive, okay?
Oh yeah, these search engines are much more efficient than they used to be.
I searched for a while, and everyone's like, oh, you gotta like do this weird round workaround, and you gotta do this and that, and you gotta use the sleep fields and the disable fields, which are tools that Unreal Engine themselves provide to interact with destructible objects with the shards. And then like, oh, you gotta do all this weird workaround stuff. And no one told me, nowhere could I find a single piece of information saying, upgrade to 5.2 because you have this tick box and it solves your life. I was just like, I upgraded to Unreal Engine on a hunch. I upgraded to 5.2 on a hunch. That's the only way I found this, was on a hunch. I was like, maybe chaos physics is a new thing. It's kind of in beta in Unreal Engine 5. Maybe 5.2, you know, the showcase was all about chaos physics and the new materials and stuff. Maybe, just maybe, somewhere they solved this hilarious issue. So I upgraded, I looked in here, and there it was. So, good God. But yeah, now I have breakable containers, and the pieces disappear over time. And then I also have it just like killing everything right about there. So I've got the...
Probably also put in a max number of debris.
There is settings like that. Like I said, I haven't screwed around with any of these other settings at all. And I still want to like mess around with how many pieces they break into. Oh, be up here. I still want to like try and figure out how many pieces I want them to break into. But I've got one more thing to show, and this is just something I kind of did for fun, and it was cool. So here. This kind of looks like a crate. Don't mind the UVs that don't line up. Just ignore it. One is vertical, one is horizontal. It's fine. But I after I got that working, I started messing around with the Quixel. Yeah, I know. I started messing around with the Quixel textures, which is where was it? Yeah, Quixel Bridge. Let me see if I can put it up. There we go. So it's they partnered with Unreal Engine partnered with Quixel, and basically what's nice about this is you get a whole bunch of textures and assets and stuff that's just, you can just drag and drop pretty much into your project. Nice. It's a bit more than drag and drop, but I essentially just started going through here and searching metal.
All the things you liked.
Yeah, I just played around with a whole bunch of stuff. So you've got different types here. You've got metal, gunmetal, corrugated metal is what I used for the top and bottom there. This one specifically, you can see it's ticked, so I've got it downloaded. This one I used for the front panels. And then, again, that blue you saw was... how do I go about finding it again? Let's see. Surfaces. Metal. Treated. Here it is. Hot blue steel.
Ooh.
Look at that. I know, right? It's very...
Because I like it. I would have made more of the box out of that.
Oh yeah. It's so shiny, but like on a pure flat surface, it's not gonna look as good. It's gotta be like for trim, highlights, or something.
Oh yeah, I was thinking the main, dice facing surfaces. I was thinking, like the handles and stuff.
Yeah. And I've got
everything that's not part of the box.
I wonder. Oh, I didn't even. Whoops. Didn't texture the inside. I've got like a. Where's my camera? Camera speed. Lower it, is, oh, what is going on with my screen there? Jeez. There we go. That's a bit better. So it's a bit hard to tell because it's kind of in shadow. But I've got this leather texture here. There you can kind of see it. Yeah, leather texture for the handle inside. It's whatever. I gotta turn my camera speed back up. Of course, the groove in there, I've got like gunmetal in it. The same as this edge here. I made the corners and the handle just all the same gunmetal. And it looks pretty decent. Like the colors work for like a sci-fi crate. Although I do want to add details. I want to add like more grooves and like physical geometry details. I want to make like an indent groove, kind of like this, but in a different pattern, in a specific pattern, and then put a material on the bottom that's emissive, so it'll be like a glowing light grooved into the box.
There we go. That's more sci-fi-y.
Yeah. That's what I want to do. Yeah. I definitely need more shiny and more flashing lights. So I'm gonna mess around with that, but that's kind of what I've been up to. And I did these ages ago, but I'll kind of show them off anyway. This was when I was messing around with making a glass texture in Unreal Engine. So yeah. And for ages now, I've been wanting a dark purple obsidian texture, and I just couldn't find one. So I just kind of went through Quixel and looked for like a nice cracked rock that also looked sharp and jagged, and then tinted that purple. I was like, interesting.
No, I did a slightly lighter purple because it seems to be dark inherently.
Yeah. That's like, interesting. It looks quite nice. But there's something in particular that I want to use obsidian for, and I have been wanting to use it for years. But I don't know how to texture. I don't. But I think I might be getting better just from slapping this together. But now that I know how to get Blender textures to carry over, I want to play around with those nodes again, with those texture nodes in Blender, because you can do some real fancy stuff with that. Like Substance Designer and Substance Painter rolled into one, because Adobe Substance Designer is probably better than Blender's one. There definitely is, but you've got to like make the texture there, and then you got to import it into a different program, which is Substance Painter, whatever else you use, and then paint it on there, and then it's a good workflow, but it's tedious. So I'm gonna see if I can mess around with Blender's textures, and then actually make a nice looking crate. And there's a couple other things I want to make. Make a very specific kind of tree and a weird broken alien archway that I just want to try and pull together. Nothing in particular I felt like using them for. I just want to make them. But yeah, this is just kind of all I had to show, and I didn't feel like recording and then uploading, so I just hit stream. So this is just gonna go straight into my stream VODs, and people can find it there. And it's basically just a video showcasing what I've been doing, and also documenting some of the problems I encountered, because God knows other people are having the same issues. But yeah, that's all I wanted to show. So I guess until next time, peace.